So we all know that the dashboard of WordPress has kind of been unloved for a long time. However, phase 3 of the WordPress updates, phase 1 being Gutenberg, phase 2 being full site editing, part of phase 3 is to revamp the interface. Now, specifically, I'm going to take a look at what I've found today, which is about the media management side of things. So this is all still suggestions. This isn't necessarily what we're going to see, but it is interesting to kind of get inside the kind of heads of what they're doing and see how it compares to something like Happy Files, which I use to sort of manage all my media. But this is the sort of idea that we've got coming across. Now, I'll link to the GitHub article in the description down below so you can check this out yourself. But as we can see, there's a visual, quite a big visual change, but also not that much has changed, if that makes sense. Let's take a quick look at what we have here. Now, there's a light and a dark mode of this as well, which the link I've got below, you can check those out. Exactly the same, just one's light and dark. So we can see that we've got the images in pretty much the same kind of way, but we can also see that we've got this option to tag them, which will be quite useful. So you've got your abstract, new, featured, and so on. And also, if we take a look down the left-hand side, you can see that we've got these options for all media, images, and so on, so we can categorize things a little better there. Now, I'm assuming that this plus at the top allows us to create our own categories. So again, I'm making an assumption here. I could be totally off base, and if anybody knows better, do let me know in the comment section down below. This is mostly just speculation from these images and the kind of GitHub article. But I'm hoping that this allows us to create our own categories to manage our overall kind of way that we want to organize things. So we scroll down a little bit further, you can see that we've got the option to see all the options at the top, so we can search by tags, by author, sort things by date, switch our views between what we're kind of used to, which is the list view and the sort of like preview view where we see the images on their own. That's all pretty cool. I'm interested to find out what these two changes are. I'm assuming this is where they've applied these tags and we can review those changes and see exactly what's going on there. Just looking at this, it already looks a little bit fresher, kind of more in keeping with the full site editing sequences that we've kind of seen, that we're used to now. Again, if we scroll down, we can see this is where we open up one of our images. So again, we can find most of the same information out about what we've seen before, which is, you know, the sort of who's uploaded it, the type of files, the dimensions, and so on. This would normally be over on the right-hand side. The same with like where we can access the file and find the full URL and so on for it. But inside here, we can see we've got some more things. We've got all those basic info, but we've also got the tags that you've applied to it, the file name and so on, included in. Now, this is pretty useful because this will show us where this file is being used. So if we're looking for redundant files, we can easily hop in here and see if that file is actually being used anyway. If we switch over now and take a look at the alternative view, you can see if we take a look at the icons, this is going to show us the sort of the grid view. You can see this is giving us larger previews. And again, nice to see we have larger previews. So I hope this is something that we will see, because the previews in the current version are all a little bit on the small side. What I would love to see here is the ability to switch between different sizes. Hopefully, again, this is something that we will be able to do, switch between these different variations. Nothing's changed on the left-hand side, and the same at the top. The only thing we're really changing here is the view. Now, I'm assuming that the little sort of 3 dots here, the sort of little kebab menu, or whatever they call it, probably allows us to do some additional things, maybe delete it, download it, preview it, those kinds of things. That would be quite cool. Although it would be nice to just be able to sort of click on it and preview a bigger version in a sort of modal pop-up window, so we can kind of just check things out, especially if you could resize and scale these. That would be pretty cool to see. But I mean, most of this isn't really a game changer. It is nice that we can organize. I'd love to be able to also create subfolders, so hopefully this will be the same kind of thing, because I like to sort of have my folder set up by the type, and then inside there I may have the years that we're dealing with. Especially great if you're dealing with posts that, you know, tutorials and things that might have multiple images and multiple years, and then group them together by the actual post itself. Gives you sort of like a nice deep way of being able to organize things. And hopefully this is also one of those things that, for me personally, I hope this is just on the WordPress interface and not in the actual file and folder structure that you see in your copy of WordPress, your actual installation. These are just there for organizing inside the media browser and nothing more. Now, this is the GitHub article. Like I say, I will link this down below, but you can see they're outlining what the objectives are to expand and improve the media management capabilities, which we've already agreed absolutely needs to be done. So categorization, tagging, image editing, better handling of attached media, design improvements to library views and filtering, unify the interface, including the block edit, single media and library views, and also tying it into the standard admin. And hopefully this is something they will update, so we will really hope that we'll see this year a total revamp of the interface itself with new features, streamlining how things work, and not just the media management side of things. But improving the media flow, such as media insertion, adding media actions to the command center and so on. So there's your dark version, which personally I prefer. But then you've got the scope underneath, and this is what I would recommend you take a look at. This is going to break down what they're looking to include in it. Whether this comes out in one go or whether it comes in multiple goes, I have no idea. It'd be nice to see it all come out at once, because then we've got the end result. But you can see we've got data views, explore browser and organization, for example, date headings, and other improvements to the filtering UI. Take a look at the proof of concept, and that'll bring you through to this video. And this will take you through and show you. And you can see if we take a look down the left-hand side, this is all very much done inside full-site editing. But again, we want that cohesive experience for the end user, that whichever section in WordPress you're in, whether it's media, full-site editing, Gutenberg, whatever, you have that continuity of look, function, and all those kinds of things. As you just saw, the media library no longer allows the ability to view attached images in a post. Well, this is something that looks like they're going to be bringing back into it, or at least what we saw in the image, where you can see what post or posts any of these images are actually used in, which, like I say, is incredibly useful. Now, this will be incredibly useful as well, which is make or replace media flows consistent across all media. Now, I'm assuming this is enhancing what we can do with the replace function, which is a nice way of being able to work, where you can just replace the image and everything else stays in place, any effects and so on. That would be quite nice. And anything they can do there to expand that would be very useful. So they're saying, could we add use featured image to the image block, effectively transforming it to a post featured image block? Could we add use featured image to the media and text block? So the GitHub is basically where questions, and you can see we've got answers and information and screenshots of exactly what we're talking about. Again, it's nice to see that there's some consideration for our actual workflow being brought into this. Now, there's a lot covered in this GitHub article, but for me, the most interesting part were the screenshots to kind of give us a feel for what's going to happen. But I'll put the question over to you. What would you like to see included in the media library section of WordPress when they do actually go to the time and effort of updating and changing things? What you've seen in this with the sort of requests with their media library, like I say, this is all just a proof of concept kind of thing at this point in time. Is this going far enough? Would you still carry on using tools like Happy Files, which gives you what appears to be more control? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know in the comment section down below. I'll link to everything that I've talked about in this video in the description down below. But as always, I want your feedback. Let me know what your thoughts are about the media library potential updates in the comments down below. As always, all applicable links are in the description. My name is Paul C. This is WPTuts. Until next time, take care.